So I want to welcome everyone on the live stream today, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. If you're sitting in your jammies watching us this morning, you're welcome part of our community, our spiritual community. As January starts for religious science centers all over the world, I guess would be accurate, many of them are working from the first 4 Roman numeral chapters of the Science of Mind textbook. And this is the basis for our whole teaching. These chapters are probably the only chapters you would have to read to have a complete understanding of what it is that we believe about this life. And it's very interesting to reread them again after not having read them for roughly a year, and finding out that Ernest Holmes has written some new stuff since I last read those 4 chapters. You know, it's so interesting to discover that it's wherever I am in consciousness. And when I teach a beginning class, I always start with a brand new textbook, because I have probably 4 or 5 Science of Mind textbooks where I have highlighted just about everything in the textbook. One of them is held together with duct tape. It's my favorite book because it's the first class that I ever officially took with Dr. Earl Barnum when I was at the Canoga Park Church. The interesting thing about a brand new year is that I get to do things a little bit differently. And if you will bear with me this morning, I am learning how to do PowerPoint. And I feel like, well, I feel kind of stupid, actually, because I know that most everybody knows how to do these kinds of things. But no? Oh, thank God, thank God. Yes, maybe I do have the wrong information. Last week, as I was sitting with my friend Mark, I want to just say thank you to him for filling in for me last Sunday. Some of you may know or may not know, I was suffering with a little bout of the stomach flu, and I realized last Sunday morning, if I stood up here and really fainted, I would probably get fired. So I decided that if Mark could get up here and give a talk, and he did a good job, didn't he? He did a wonderful job. Yes, he did. But he ended up being with me all week long until Friday. So I had an opportunity to spend some time with him, and we shared a little bit about mental equivalence and why our bodies manifest various things that have a mental equivalent. And at one point last week, he said to me, Maureen, he said, what is it that's going on for you right now that you can't stomach? Oh, I thought, give me a silver bullet, for God's sake, before you ask a question like that. But it was a profoundly moving moment for me, because I got to see how I contribute to my own problems. And after the fact, it's easy to talk about it, but when you're in the middle of it, and somebody says something like that to you, you want to rip their lips off. But I did not do that. I was very kind to him. So I had an opportunity to reread these 4 chapters of the Science of Mind. And Ernest Holmes said, we all look forward to the day when science and religion walk hand in hand through the visible to the invisible. We don't need to know how prayer works. John was giving such a wonderful creative thought this morning. We don't need to know how prayer works in our lives. All we need to know is that it does work. It does work. And in a way sometimes that we would least expect it to work. We cannot see God, but we can see the evidence of God in so many different ways. In the same way, we can't see the wind, but we can see the evidence of the wind in the trees moving and the leaves blowing on the streets, for instance. We know it is there. We know the wind is there. We know God is there. Ernest Holmes also said in this chapter, he said, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. The truth points to freedom, and we are forever seeking to express ourselves in terms of freedom. And for me, when I did Living My Life Purpose up in Oregon in the spring, my word of power was freedom. I could not exactly define what that meant at the moment, but I have begun to discover what freedom means for me. When we're feeling in bondage to anything, a job that is unsatisfying, a relationship that's unfulfilling, it's long since outlived its usefulness in our lives, a health challenge or money stuff, whatever it is, our freedom is at issue because we've separated ourselves from the truth. We are held hostage to an idea that is not part of what we came to this earth to experience. We are held hostage to ideas that no longer serve us. In Jeremiah 29:11, it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, the plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Freedom is inherent in God's plan to prosper us, to give us hope, and to know that our future is secured when we are operating from the truth. But we have to begin someplace. We have to begin someplace. The most difficult lesson that we learn on this plane of consciousness is that this idea of freedom doesn't seem to come easily for some of us. It doesn't come easily for us if we're so attuned to the negative side of life. We've been sort of conditioned to believe, through our limited capacity to believe in our divine right to prosperity, health, wealth, and right and perfect relationships, that life is meant to be a struggle. And that's a lie. It's a lie. It is not, if it's not a struggle, we think, then for some ridiculous reasons we've made up, life just isn't worthwhile. Hogwash. Hogwash. What we really have, as it says in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, what we really have is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. A daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. While this may be true for the recovering alcoholic and drug addict, it's also true for the recovering pessimist or negative Nancy. It's true. It's true. What we have is a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. We have got to work on this idea that until it becomes a habit in our lives. We have got to have a relationship with God on a daily basis that circumvents any contingency that could be thrown at us. You know, I think to myself, how do people manage when they're faced with adversity in their lives who don't have a spiritual program? How do they manage? Where do they go? I think sometimes they go to despair. They go to hopelessness. And we have to do something that feeds our soul every day of our lives, or nothing will appreciably change. That's what this entire first chapter is about. Ernest Holmes is giving us a New Year's resolution of sorts when he wrote this prayer. "I shall keep the promise that I have made to myself. I shall never again tell myself that I am poor, sick, weak, nor unhappy. I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, telling it that it is wonderful and marvelous, that it is one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. I shall whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy with the realization of limitless possibilities. I shall assure my soul." Now, that's in the back of the Science of Mind. The universe never, ever, ever plays favorites. Never. I could have 10 slides with this saying on it, because we need to hear this. The universe never plays favorites. The limitless possibilities that Ernest talks about are for you and me alike, pressed down and overflowing. And with more than enough to go around for everybody. You know, when we first come to this teaching and realize that our thoughts are creative, there's a tendency to be fearful. What about all those thought crimes I committed against this person or that person? Ernest soothes the savage beast in us when he says, let us approach the science of mind, the science of spiritual psychology, with awe, but not with fear, with truly a humble thought, but not with a sense that we are unworthy. With awe. Not to be afraid of what has gone before, because we are guaranteed that every day we start the day with a clean slate. What has come before and what is yet to come have no meaning in the present moment. Ernest Holmes says that all thought is creative. Yes, all thought is creative. However, unless it is acted upon with emotion and regularity, some of those thoughts are just simply a way for us to sort out the good ones from the bad ones. You know, as whoever said this, don't believe everything you think. Don't believe everything you think. If we have roughly 60,000 thoughts a day, are some of them useful? Yes. But maybe 58,000 of them aren't. 58,000 thoughts that we have every day are sometimes ridiculous. If I think bad thoughts about you or bad thoughts about, you think bad thoughts about me, it doesn't hurt you, it hurts me. Those words and thoughts are simply a reflection of my own perception of myself. If I say bad things about you and I think bad things about you, I'm the one who is being hurt. My subconscious mind is the one that's absorbing those negative thoughts. And when I'm thinking bad thoughts about somebody else and saying bad thoughts about somebody, saying bad things about somebody else, it's projection. It's just projection. And once again, we're faced with this idea of freedom. How about freedom from errant thinking? How about that as a New Year's concept? I'm not going to say resolution, but how about freedom from errant thinking? Understanding how to use the conscious mind in a constructive and life-affirming way is the greatest road to freedom. The conscious mind is superior to the subjective mind and may consciously use it. Great as the subconscious mind is, its tendency is set in motion by the conscious thought, and in this possibility lies the path of freedom. Our relationship to spirit provides the most amazing path to freedom and to a life of richest blessings possible. Mahatma Gandhi said that there is a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us and produce miraculous results. There is a force in the universe which, if we permit it, will flow through us and produce miraculous results. Beth Lapidus, who's this cute little Beth sitting down here in the front row, she's a wonderful writer, and she posted something on Facebook this week, and I asked her if I could share it with you this morning. Some of you know her because she did that wonderful piece with Mitch at the Christmas musical concert. And if you don't know her, you might want to know her because she's a clever and wonderful person. She said, I finally took my beloved Alexander McQueen jacket in for the lining redo. I didn't want to. I loved the lining, but it's ripped to shreds. New year, new thing. New year, new lining. So I went to buy the fabric, and there was this wall of multicolored cloth. Now, she had a photograph of the wall that was in the fabric store, but I didn't know how to translate that so I could put it up on the board. I'm still learning, as I said. She said, I love fabric stores, all that potential, all that bright promise. May your year be as soft as silk, as fun as fake fur, as sparkly as sequins. May you have the comfort of flannel, the mystery of velvet, the certainty of cotton. May you have the sexiness of spandex and the financial security of wool. May you have the convenience of rayon, the magic of organza. May the tantra of your life, the weave of it, be rich and bold. And may you always feel the golden thread connecting you. The golden thread connecting all of us is spirit, is God, is the universe. It is all that I am. It is all that you are. We are all interconnected. Now, I do not believe in resolutions, but one of my all-time favorite 20th century mystics, Bishop John Shelby Spong, has written his for the new year. And I wanted to share them with you because I couldn't even do anything better than this. While I love what he wrote, the editor and me could not help personalizing them by changing them to the present tense with a positive, precise, and personal bent to them. He said, number 1, live in the present moment. I do not obsess about the past or worry about the future. I cultivate the art of making connections. I pay attention to how life is intimately related to all life on the planet. I am thankful for all the blessings in my life. I spell out my days with a grammar of gratitude. I practice hospitality in a world where too often strangers are feared, enemies are hated, and the other is shunned. I welcome guests and alien ideas with graciousness. I seek liberty and justice for all. I work for a free and fair world. I add to the planet's fund of goodwill by practicing little acts of kindness, brief words of encouragement, and manifold expressions of courtesy. I cultivate the skill of deep listening. I remember that all things in the world want to be heard, as do the many voices inside me. I practice reverence for life by seeing the sacred in, with, and under all things in the world. I give up trying to hide, deny, or escape from my imperfections. I listen to what my shadow side has to say to me. I am willing to learn from the spiritual teachers all around me, however unlikely or unlike me they may be. So today, as you leave the sanctuary, there is a basket of white stones out in the entryway that have words written on them. Now, Reverend Mark and I sat and wrote on each one of these stones words that came to us as perhaps the guideline for 2015 for some of you. And if you have an altar at home, you may wish to put that white stone on the altar. And don't try to pick the perfect stone. Stand there, close your eyes, and just randomly pick one out of the basket. You know, we could stand there and shuffle through until we pick the one that we think is the perfect one for us. No, let's let the subconscious mind, that God within, pick the stone today. Because the one you choose without filtering it is the one that is really meant for you. Each of the stones have been blessed by Mark and I as we did the writing on them. And this world for 2015 is rife with possibility. Absolutely, we have a clean slate. We have a beginning. And so, again, I'm going to ask you, as I often do on the last Sunday of the year, but on the first Sunday of the year, how is it that we conduct our lives so that our efforts end up on the credit column of the planet's ledgers? Our theme for this year is Possibility Begins Here and Now. And we have so much to look forward to at this center for 2015. Some changes, yes. Some things that are good, some things that may not appear to be as good on the surface, but they are, in fact, change is good for everyone. And it has many faces. And maybe one of those faces is going to a deeper level, at a soul level at this center, where we do our work in a way that we take what we have learned out into the world in a really huge way. And we make a difference in this world because we have lived, period. Not for any other reason except by example. I know that this is the truth for all of us here and now today, that we are in the midst of change and that the thing itself, God, is right there alongside of us, guiding, directing, and protecting us through whatever it is that we need to do, knowing that with God, all things are possible. Will you join me in consciousness, please? And so today we go within with absolute intention. Intention is back of every single idea that has ever been created in form. And so whatever idea that I might have today for the right and perfect 2015, that idea is already done and complete in the mind of God. And I simply have to be open and receptive to how it shows up in my experience. And so I know today for each one of us that we are here to know more of the thing itself. We are here to know more of God. We are here to know more of who we are by means of our relationship to Spirit. And so because I realize unequivocally today that all thought is creative, I stand guard at the gate of my best thinking. And I know that today, as I move into an awareness of the power and presence of Spirit in my life, greater than I have ever known before, that nothing and no one can keep me from my intention and from seeing my life realized in a grand and glorious way. And so I know today that for every person that is a member and a visiting guest of this center, that we support one another in love and generosity of spirit, because we are here not only for ourselves, but we are here for each other, for that interconnectedness that we feel with one another when we look at each other and we see the eyes of God looking back at us. I know that for everyone that I know here at this center, for everyone that we know here at this center, that there is an awareness of good, there is an awareness of God so great that we had to gather as a spiritual community in order to feel the energy of that greatness. And so today, I see myself in a new light. I see myself as having purpose and a reason for being. As I have spoken this truth in the first person for everyone here present today, I know that this year is good and very good. And as we move forward in consciousness, we move forward in life in such a way as to make a difference in this community, in this state, and in this world, just simply by being who we are. And so today I recognize my part in this play called life. And I know that I am the producer, the director, the main character in this play, and I choose to write it any way I want. It is called 2015, and it is epic in its proportion. And so I joyfully receive and give thanks today, knowing that it is done and complete in the mind of God, and I am simply here to fill out the details from January through December, knowing, as we always say, that with God all things are possible, and so it is.